Welcome to the final drive presented by Auto Owners Insurance of the regular season. Thrilled to have you here. Mike Hall, Glenn Mason, Jay Lehman. We got a crew in Indianapolis going to join us shortly with reaction from the Ohio State Buckeyes winning their third straight Big Ten championship. And I'll say one thing about this to start things off, gentlemen. It's a 60-minute game. Doesn't matter what the score is after 30 minutes. They play 60.
I keep telling you, in our game, we don't give lap money. You know, it's ahead. But you talk about two great halves of football, great first half for Wisconsin, great half for Ohio State the second half. But I continually say this, and I believe it, Ohio State playing on a whole different level than anybody else I've seen.
The Buckeyes were bad in the first half and really rad in the second half. Just totally different in that second half on all three phases: offense, defense, special teams. Capitalized on them, finished the game off.
Let's show you what we're talking about. Buckle up. This is a beautiful and beefy highlight between two teams ranked in the top 10 for the 9th edition of the Big Ten Football Championship game. To Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis we go, and Jack Coan. What a surprise he's been this year, huh? People didn't even think he'd be the starter at the beginning of the year for the Badgers.
I like the call, but I'll tell you who liked it better, Ohio State. They were ready for that.
Chase Young, another example of a star Buckeye who played much better in the second half. That OSU defense pitched a shutout the final 2 quarters, and Ohio State wins the Big Ten championship game. 34-21 is your final score. They remain perfect on the season at 13-0. Justin Fields went for 299 yards through the air, and J.K. Dobbins 172 yards on the ground. Fields afterwards talked with Michelle McMahon.
Justin, bring me into that embrace with your coach at the end of this game. How rewarding was this victory?
It was just great to see how we came out in the second half and played our butts off. I think the team did a hell of a job, the defense and offense. I think we executed great on both sides of the ball.
Dive a little bit deeper into that. 27 unanswered points for this Buckeye offense in the second half. What was the difficulties that Wisconsin presented for you in the first half that you guys were able to overcome in the second?
I think the first half we knew that we were losing the game because of us, so I think the reason that we were getting beat was just because of us. Really, we just got in the locker room at halftime and just said, look, sit down. And I think the whole team had confidence, so I think that was a big part.
As your coach just said, this team is far from over and far from done yet. What else does Wisconsin or does Ohio State football have?
I still think we haven't played up to our potential, so when we really play up to our potential, I think the sky's the limit.
Lastly, how is your health with that knee?
It looks like I have a few weeks off, so it should be 100%.
Justin, thanks for the time.
Thanks, have a good one.
So here's a look at first half versus second half and how different things were for Ohio State. 27-0. They won the final 2 quarters, had more total yards, did not turn the ball over at all. What a great performance for Ohio State, as they are potentially now going to be the #1 overall seed in the upcoming playoff. Much more coming up from Jay and Glenn, but first we go out to our crew in Indianapolis for their reaction. Gentlemen?
Mike, thanks so much. Pleased to be joined by Jerry DiNardo, Howard Griffith, and Joshua Perry. After a tale of 2 halves, Wisconsin dominated the first one. Ohio State more dominant in the second one. And as a result, for the 3rd straight year, the Buckeyes are Big Ten champions. What did you take from it, guys?
Well, I think the story is what you said. Great plan by Wisconsin the first half. They had Ohio State balance on defense. They had Justin Fields throwing the ball way too fast. Second half, there was some adjustments made in the Ohio State locker room, and they owned the second half. It was Wisconsin's first half, Ohio State's second half, pretty much like the first game was.
Yeah, I think one of the things they were able to do, particularly on the defensive side of football, was to be able to get pressures and start to make Coan feel uncomfortable in the pocket. Because in that first quarter, first half, he was really looking comfortable and able to make a lot of plays. That changed in the second half. It really speaks to them being able to make second half adjustments as a coaching staff.
No doubt. And I think one thing that's interesting now is there's a little bit of a blueprint to how you attack Ohio State. Wisconsin was aggressive. They took the ball coming out of the first half. Imagination on offense, defensively, a ton of pressure. So other teams now, as they get into the playoff, are going to want to mimic that. Ohio State's going to have some answers early.
You know, as tough first half as Justin Fields half, if it's not for J.K. Dobbins, Ohio State doesn't get to the second half in position to win. J.K. Dobbins was kind of the MVP of the first half. Justin Fields going to get the award. But without J.K. the first half, I don't know Ohio State wins this game.
And a gutty performance by Justin Fields. I mean, it is obvious that he is not at 100%. He has been knocked around. You think about this schedule here over the last few weeks. Physical teams in Penn State and Michigan and now Wisconsin. You got to tip your hat to the performance of Fields, Joshua.
You know, I'm watching him run around the field, and the thing that's coming to my mind is how tough of a guy he is. I kept saying that. He's pulling the ball down, he's running, he's trying to get tough yards, stands in the pocket, sometimes maybe a little bit too much, but you give him a ton of credit as a young quarterback for being a guy who will stand in there and take that type of heat. It's something you typically don't see.
Yeah, let's take that a step further, and you talk about him making plays with his legs. He was not sliding, he was diving. He was being very aggressive when he held on to the football to try to gain more yardage to put this team in a position where they could keep the chains moving, because early, let's face it, they weren't having a lot of success at doing that.
And he only ran one read option the entire game. And that was in the first quarter down in the red zone. One of their problems in the red zone is they usually use him to run the read option in the red zone. It gives J.K. a little bit more room. So the fact that he couldn't run the option really hurt him. And yet, Howard, he puts himself in harm's way more scrambling than he does running the read option.
Yeah, it was obvious that the game plan had to be slightly altered, I think, given the challenges of Fields. And I also think that Wisconsin did not respect him as much as a runner in those read option situations as they might have otherwise. All that being said, Ohio State still wins this game by 13 points. They have won every single game this year by double figures. Ryan Day's first year as a head coach. He's got his back up against the wall at the half. What do you think of the performance of Day in keeping his composure, getting this team ready to go in the second half?
I think he wins the game. And I don't think he did it by himself. I think Jeff Hafley and Madison and the guys on offense, I mean, they all made adjustments.
All right, well, guys, we have plenty more to come here from Indianapolis, but for now, let's send it back to Mike in Chicago.
Gentlemen, thanks. A lot more to come from you guys, but let's dive a little deeper into the difference in this game. What changed? Because it's not just that they were so different in the second half, but as we showed in the highlight, they blew it in the final minute and gave up another. I mean, there was no momentum on their side going into halftime.
Well, you hit exactly the key word as far as I'm concerned. We don't have to talk about adjustments and everything they did at halftime. But, you know, in that first half, Wisconsin had all the momentum. And when you don't have the momentum, especially against a good football team like Wisconsin, there's only one way to get it. You got to take it back. And it all started right here with Justin Fields, and he's going to find who else? Chris Olave. How many times have we seen this? He buys some time, he gets behind the defender, and he makes a big catch. And you talked about this. You will not see a better catch all year by Jeremy Ruckert. But I'm going to tell you, more importantly, when he caught this, you could hear it all over the TV, got the Buckeye Nation back in, and then Fields is going to have all day. Finally, the line giving him protection, and he's going to find K.J. Hill for a 16-yard touchdown. And my point, all the momentum was with Wisconsin the first half. Whatever they did the second half, they still had to go back to the field and take the momentum back. And once they did, they never relinquished it again.
Momentum's so key in the college game, right? They took it back in the third quarter, and then they were able to finish off the game in the fourth quarter by imposing the will. The O-line struggled early in this football game, but in the second half, that offensive line, that run game, and J.K. Dobbins got going. About 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. This is still a ball game, 10-point game. Give to J.K. Dobbins with about 10:32 left, 9-yard run. Hit J.K. Dobbins again here, and the line starts to just impose its will. Dobbins chugs along to get the first down. Watch the clock just tick, 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 tick. Now remember, they don't have the read option in the game plan. Justin Fields is a runner, so it's only J.K. Dobbins. Wisconsin knows this. They're queuing on Dobbins. Dobbins still runs for over $170. Toughness up front for this Buckeye offensive line.
Every time I watch J.K. Dobbins play, I think about a comment I heard that Urban Meyer made way early in the season. He said, you know, you look at Dobbins, he's so strong, especially in the lower body, and he's such great condition. He's the type of runner, the longer the game goes, the stronger he gets, and that was evident today.
That's the thing, his 9th 100-yard rushing performance of the season, and there was no bad half for him. He had 75 yards in the first half, had, I believe, 99 in the second half. I mean, just a great performance for a guy who's also standing by with Michelle.
JK, Coach Day said he felt like you got slighted in terms of the Big Ten running back of the year. What do you feel like you proved here in the Big Ten championship victory?
I mean, I had 3 straight rings, you know, and I don't know. I don't know what to say about that one, but, I mean, Jonathan Taylor's a great player, you know, so I'm glad he won that, and I'm just keep proving to people that maybe I am the #1 back.
How was this team able to explode with the offense they did in the second?
You know, in the first half, we didn't play to our potential, you know, and so the second half, we knew what we had in store, so we came out and proved it.
When we talked a couple of weeks ago, you said you knew the College Football Playoff Committee would be watching. This Buckeye team hasn't fallen off the map. What do you want them to know about this Ohio State team and why they should not be slighted in terms of the rankings this final time?
You know, we're a hungry team, and no matter who you put in front of us, we're going to play hard, to our hardest, you know, so, you know, we're coming.
What's special about this team?
The brotherhood. We all love each other like family.
JK, congratulations. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thanks, Michelle.
And a 16-yard pass play gets Ohio State on the board first here in the second half.
Well, if you look at these two teams going head-to-head, it has been all Ohio State dating back to 2011. 8-0 in their 8 times that they have met up. Now, not all of that can be blamed if you're a Wisconsin fan on Chase Young. It might just feel that way because he's just about everywhere. He certainly was all over the field in the second half, and now he's still on the field talking to our guys at Indy.
Mike, thanks. Very pleased to be joined by Ohio State star Chase Young. Another outstanding game, 1.5 tackles for loss, a couple hurries, couple passes broken up in this game. Before we talk about your game, though, I want to talk about this team. Take us inside that locker room with your backs up against the wall at halftime. Give us a sense of what was said and what changes were made.
We went in there. It wasn't too much, you know, yelling and screaming because we knew what to do. At first, you know, it was simple things like missed tackles, you know, just simply not doing our job. So, you know, we had to be grown about it, and we had to get down to business and just do our job. And that was it. That was it.
Chase, did you see any blocking schemes or plays that you hadn't seen before that you weren't prepared for? No, but what we thought would work, they didn't care, and so they just did it anyway. But, you know, it's all cool because, you know, for a team I feel like to beat us, you can't focus on one guy the whole game and I feel like expect to win. So, you know, I just feel like keep doing it. We do keep winning, so I'm cool.
You know, it was interesting. When you played this team before, you would go to the linebacker position and start to line up in different spots. How comfortable were you doing that, and what kind of advantage did that give you when you were playing against the Badgers?
I think I'm real comfortable in that position, standing up and, you know, just picking who I want to rush on. So basically, I just can be, I can do what I feel most comfortable with. And, you know, the Badgers, they definitely are a good offense. And, you know, we just always want to give them our best shot.
What Coach Day say to you at halftime?
He said, keep throwing punches. And that's all that's your back against the wall. That's all you can do. Just keep throwing punches. And that's what we did. And thank God, you know, we came out with a win today.
Are you guys the best team in America?
Yeah, without a doubt. You know.
Tell me why.
I feel like, you know, this team, the brotherhood is so strong. We had so much adversity this season. Even this game, to see a team come back, I feel like we did. And we came back. We didn't just come back. We came back and we dominated. And I feel like a team who can make that quick of a switch, I feel like you just don't see that a lot, you know, in college football teams. So I think we're the best.
You mentioned the adversity in this game. Justin Fields is clearly not 100%. Give us a sense of what his week looked like and how he overcame what is a clear injury issue.
You know, a lot of rehab. But, you know, the day that we get to Ohio State, we're taught toughness. I feel like our whole team is built off toughness. So unless you know, and this is just, unless he just can't run, he's going to play. And, you know, that's just the type of quarterback, you know, that he is.
Well, Chase, congratulations on a fabulous season. Thanks so much for spending a few minutes with us. And we will see you down the road, wherever it is.
Thank you.
In the College Football Playoff. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you.
That, of course, is Chase Young. Let's send it back to Mike in Chicago.
Well, let's stay on the topic of Chase Young. I mean, it is rare that you have a defensive player who is so good that he's actually in a legitimate discussion late in the season for the Heisman Trophy. We had the 2 games he missed. He wasn't all over the field in Michigan. He wasn't all over the field in the first half in this game. What's your make of what we've seen from him the last few weeks?
Well, you know, first of all, Mike, and during our show during the year, I've said a number of times, I really think Chase Young is the best football player in the country. And I say that, you get an argument about, okay, some quarterbacks. Well, there's a number of really good quarterbacks or running backs. There's a lot of good running backs. But there's only one Chase Young. And if you look at his productivity, which you already referred to, his last 4 games, 2 games he had to sit out, and then against Michigan and today, people look and say, well, he's not sacking the quarterback, you know, like he used to. Well, it's not because he's not giving great effort. It's a result of the teams that are playing know that you don't do a great job of game planning Chase Young.
Right.
It is all over. So his impact on the game is just as much now as it was when he was sacking quarterbacks, because that frees up the rest of the defense.
Wisconsin known as a play-action team, right? Those are long developing pass plays. First half, we didn't see that at all, Coach. We saw 3-step drops, the ball out to Quintez Cephas, 10 targets in the first half alone. If Cephas wasn't open, Jack Cohn was taking off and running because there's an internal clock in his head that says Chase Young or someone is coming after me, and that's what Chase Young does, exactly what you said. They've changed the total game plan. They went from long play-action plays to short 3-step drops. If Cephas isn't open, I'm taking off and running. We didn't hear much about Danny Davis. We didn't hear much about Jake Ferguson, Kendrick Pryor. Those are good players. They were just looking for Quintez Cephas or running the football.
That one play during the second half when it looked like Taylor was going to take off for a big run, and Chase Young took him down with one hand. You know, when do you see that happen? I mean, this guy is a unique player, and that's why I think he's the best player in the country. I don't care, offense, defense, whatever.
I mean, how incredible is this? Coming into this weekend, Chase Young, had more sacks than 15 teams in major college football had throughout the entire season. And that defense is, I think, the main reason why Ohio State's so much better this year. Give up 25 points a game last year, giving up around 12 to 13 this year, depending on what the average turned out from the 21 they gave up to Wisconsin here in Indianapolis. What does the head coach have to say? Ryan Day, his first year as a head coach, and was named the MVP of the game. The Buckeyes win the championship 34-21, your final score. And for Ryan Day, he is still undefeated. 16 straight wins in his head coaching career. That is the second longest in Ohio State history, behind only Urban Meyer. And the man who refuses to lose in Columbus is with our guys at the desk in Indy.
Mike, thanks. Ryan Day now 16-0 as the head coach of the Buckeyes. Every single one of those wins by a double-figure margin. The coach kind enough to join us here. And, Coach, for a while there, it looked like it might not get to 16-0. Take us through your thought process. I'm particularly interested in the fake punt, because that was a big moment in this game had it failed. Tell me what you were thinking.
Yeah, I had decided in my mind that you had to pick the right spot for that, and it was going to be if we went down 2 scores, then we needed some sort of a little jolt, and I felt like that was the exact time. And it actually made us a little nervous because they put 2 gunners out there, and we weren't expecting 2 gunners. I said, if that guy turns his head inside, we are in trouble. I'm going to get smoked on this, but. Always trying to be aggressive, and the time was right, and I thought it gave us a little something in the first half. We needed it.
Your impressions of Wisconsin?
Oh, tough. I mean, to beat them twice in 1 year, both top 10 wins. They're very well coached. They're tough. They're very disciplined, and they came at us today, and they did a great job. And this was our 3rd game in a row, emotional game, right. and they played really well. So a lot of credit to them.
Talk to us about your quarterback. We know he struggled during the week a little bit. When was he really able to really get involved as far as practice is concerned, to be able to really get ready for this game?
Yeah, we didn't talk about it much during the week, but he didn't practice all that much. And I think when you're 19 years old, if you don't practice, we learned that when JT didn't practice a couple years ago in the same situation. And, you just a little bit off here, a little bit off there. And then all of a sudden he got himself into it, and then I thought he played really good in the second half. But he's tough. He's got the heart of a lion, and for him to work through that injury in this game was great.
Looks like you came out with more energy the second half than you did the first half. Do you agree, and why do you think that was?
Yeah, I don't know if it was energy or confidence. You know, I think, again, the 3 games in a row, you play Penn State at home, that's an emotional win. Then you go up there and win in Ann Arbor, and then you come back and play this game against a really good team. They had a good scheme against us, and they were coming out, they were fresh, and I thought in the first half Wisconsin was playing really good football, and we just couldn't get into a rhythm, whether it was just them running the ball and Taylor was on fire early, or us just not being able to kind of hit some of those throws and get into a rhythm with Justin. But then as we went to the locker room, we challenged the guys, and we just said, listen, we're going to find out right now what this team is made of. We've been up by scores early, in the season, and as the season's gone on, we've been winning. And so things are kind of easy for us. Well, now we're going to find out what we're made of. And then for them to respond the way they did, it goes to show you the character of this team.
Coach, there was about a 9-minute plus mark in the fourth quarter. And you seem to turn this game over to your offensive line and Dobbins, and they really start to take control of that game. How important was that part of the game plan for you?
That's something that's a little different for us, because typically it's all high scoring and trying to score as many times as you can and play as fast as you can. That one drive, if I remember correctly, I think we started with 10 minutes to go. I think we ate about 5.5 minutes off the clock, ended up with a field goal. It was very frustrating. We couldn't score. But we wanted to kind of grind it out. At that point, we played really good in the third quarter, and we knew we were up 2 scores, and we had to play really smart at that moment.
Coach, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but the committee has a tradition, College Football Playoff Committee. At the end of the night on Saturday, they usually flip on over to BTN, and they let the Big Ten coach state his case for why his team belongs in the playoff, and they pretty much go by whatever he says. So give us a sense for why you should be number 1.
Well, I think when you look at our resume and what we've done in terms of the wins that we've had this year, and again, beating Wisconsin when they're a top 10 team twice, and then winning these 3 games in a row, back to back to back, and then showing the character of what this team is made of. And I just think, offense, defense, and special teams all across the board, we've had a strong resume. And there's great teams out there. Nothing against those other guys, but I know what this team's made of and what we've done this year and the way we've played. We deserve the number 1 spot.
Well, it has been fantastic to follow it, and we look forward to wherever the next chapter takes you. Congratulations on a great season to this point, and thanks so much for spending a few minutes with us.
Yeah, thanks for everything, guys.
Yeah, thanks. That is Ryan Day. Let's go back to Mike in Chicago.
I mean, it is hard to put into words what Ryan Day has done so far. With no previous head coaching experience, he's still undefeated, and now his team's going to be in the playoff potentially as the number 1 seed.
What's impressive, first Big Ten coach we saw on that graphic since 1948 to win the Big Ten in his first season. What I was so impressed about is he has a young quarterback who's not only banged up, does not play well in the first half, gets him coached up for the second half. They make adjustments. He plays better, not just better, throws for 3 TDs and 299 yards. That was huge. And had some key injuries as well, not just Fields. Jeff Okudah out in the first half. Cameron Brown, the backup cornerback, getting picked on. They had to make adjustments offensively and defensively. They're under pressure. They showed what true champion they are.
Yeah, everybody wants to use the word, pressure, and for everybody saying, well, let's see what Ryan Day does here at halftime. I've been watching Ryan Day the entire year. You mentioned that this is his first head coaching job. Think about who he was following. Urban Meyer, a legend, a guy that won 90% of his games, a guy that was 7-0 against the University of Michigan, and now you're stepping in and you're following him. You talk about pressure. Well, he runs the table. He beats Michigan in his first outing, and then he's in the championship game. And you think about that was kind of like the end of his test, being down at halftime. Man, he came through flying colors. Gene Smith, credit to Gene Smith. He knew what he was doing when he named this guy the head coach.
And one thing he did, he changed up his style. Like he said, likes to outscore people. But with 10 minutes to go, he realized, I need to grind it out on the ground. Let's play some real Big Ten football, old school, get some clock, turned off about 6 minutes, and that sealed the game.
Yeah, you know why? Because he thought, we could still lose this football game. Wisconsin's good. You talk about a turnover, something happens, they get hot, and all of a sudden, scoring points, style points, or whatever, secondary to winning the football game.
To think that the guy you're replacing is one of the all-time great head coaches in the 150-year history of the sport, and your first year replacing him, you're undefeated in the playoff is hard to fathom. Again, one of the main reasons why is that defense for OSU.